Right then, let's make a list of her qualities. Very attractive. He's not going to see her.
Well, there's no harm in her sounding attractive.
Well, in that case, I like a woman with spunk.
Spunk. I think a combination of domesticity and career. Independent, yet not selfishly so.
Independent.
A woman who gives you a little bit of trouble every now and again, keeps things interesting.
Someone you feel at ease with, yet challenges you.
A woman with strong hips.
An intellectual.
So is it true
Is what true?
that you applied for a new position?
Yes.
Well, I would be sorry to see you leave.
Sir? Sir?
Is brute strength so compelling?
To some women. Mr. Darwin calls it sexual selection. Large males able to defeat other males have more reproductive success. Therefore, women find them appealing. Some women are attracted to intelligence. Others prefer a combination.
An intelligent thug.
Somewhat intriguing concept, don't you think?
That coroner's not too shabby either. Willowy! I like that. She married.
It goes against nature.
Oh, rubbish! Nature is full of omnisexual behavior. Have you never seen male dogs at play?
But those are dogs.
We are all animals, William. Behaving as nature intended. If God didn't want us to express our desires, then why would he give us desires in the first place?
To test our resolve.
At whose expense? Surely this is not God's plan.
Ah, the lovely Dr. Ogden. Yes, it will be a great pleasure to see her again.
You'll soon have your chance.
William, I have Mr. Doyle, what a lovely surprise.
Dr. Ogden, enchanting as always.
I find Toronto Island a lovely place to go when I need to think. Walk along the shoreline is most relaxing.
Are you offering to accompany me, Doctor?
Well, you have been rather confused of late. I wouldn't want you to get lost among the lagoons.
Excellent.
Anything is possible, William.
Yes, those were Dr. Ogden's sentiments exactly.
Oh, yes, Dr. Ogden. You speak often of her. Now it's my turn to ask you a question. What is your relationship with Dr. Ogden?
We work well together. She's a brilliant pathologist. She's well educated, quite witty at times. And she's kind. Bold. Stubborn. And quite beautiful. But I'm sorry, you were asking me something.
Perhaps there's a reason why you did not die.
Detective, nothing so important can never come too late.
I hope not. I'm sorry, did I say something wrong?
No, William. I'm just glad you're here. You're not the only one that lives inside their head.
No.
No. Oh, I didn't. I thought that I wasn't going to see him.
Your hair, it's quite lovely that way.
Perhaps a trip is in order. The world is a very different place away from here. I found it quite eye-opening.
Did you?
Yes. And if you decide that's something you'd like to do, I have many suggestions.
Thank you.
Will she be all right?
Perhaps one day she has the courage to walk away.
It takes a very special woman to do that.
Does it?
Yes. I didn't know you'd spent time in Prague.
Yes,
Funny how two people can work so closely together.
we don't really know anything about one another.
Exactly. You must tell me all about Prague.
Well, I had a journal when I was there.
Oh, I'd very much like to read it.
William, really?
Yes, really.
Well, perhaps some excerpts?
Julia Ogden, have I understood you correctly? You're an unwed doctor living alone.
Yes.
A modern-day bachelor girl. Well, I think that's about the most blissful thing I've ever heard.
I still can't believe I'm about to do this.
Well, you'll never have a finer day. Now, are you sure you're ready?
Absolutely.
May I ask how you met Dr. Ogden?
Well, Julia and I studied medicine together at Bishop's.
You knew her well?
Yes. In fact, very well.
Were you involved?
We were young and foolish and full of passion. She was quite the pistol.
One hot summer evening when I was home from university, my colleagues and I enjoyed swimming off Hanlon's Point. Sans clothing.
Most risque.
I don't know which was worse, being arrested or having your parents find out.
And you? Have you worked with Julia long?
It'll be 2 years come March 12th.
How odd you remember the date.
Actually, it's the murder I remember. Clayton Bowles, age 14, murdered both of his parents and hung himself from a tree in the backyard.
Yes, nasty business, this murder. To be a doctor is one thing, but a pathologist. I do wish our Julia would leave this business to the men.
That would be a shame. Dr. Ogden is like no other. At her job. I'm sorry for making you stay this late, Doctor.
Oh, it's no bother. It's not like I have much of a social life these days anyways.
You and me both. I didn't get a chance to earlier, but thank you for arranging Dr. Tash's assistance.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I take it you're more than acquaintances.
Yes.
You and Dr. Tash courted?
That was a long time ago.
You really didn't have to come that night, did you?
Yes. Yes, I did. You were jealous. Ruby.
I must say, I am surprised to see you here this evening, Julia.
Yes, well, I just thought tonight, more than any night, I would very much like to be held.
Yes. I was wondering if you would have dinner with me tonight.
Oh, certainly. I'm not sure that the results will be back by then.
Well, there are other matters we could discuss. Current events, past events. Constable Crabtree's remarkably untidy.
Well, I'd be delighted.
Good. Very good. Doctor, how would you feel about an experiment?
An experiment?
Yes. I'd been saving it for later, but with all of this talk of absinthe, I thought it apropos.
William, I've never known you to drink.
Only on special occasions.
And this is one.
Yes.
Well, that would be delightful. You can't have that.
How very modern of you.
There will be other chances. But for tonight, saner heads must prevail.
For tonight.
Yes, I'm a fan of chemistry myself. The way a person smells, the effect they have on you when you're around them. About the past. That's why I wanted to speak with you.
It's not necessary.
Oh, but it is. Isaac and I were not lovers in university. We were just good friends. But there was someone else. And like Lily Dunn, I found myself in an untenable situation. And I had no desire to marry the man. I wanted to be a doctor, William. It was everything to me. I had fought so hard for so long. wanting a medical career was difficult enough. But with a child...
It was a choice of convenience then.
It was anything but convenient. It was what I had to do. I went to Isaac and asked for his help. He refused. He would absolutely not consider breaking the law despite his personal convictions. I was desperate. So I went elsewhere. The procedure was an unimaginable nightmare. I almost died. And I would have died if it wasn't for Isaac. He saved my life. And after that, I know that he hoped never to have to watch another woman go through what I did.
He saved your life, and for that I'm more grateful to him than I can ever possibly say.
But he's still a criminal to you, isn't he? Of course he is.
But this has nothing to do with you and I. We can put all of this behind us.
But how do you propose we do that? Are you willing to forego your principles, your values, your faith?
I don't think that's necessary.
Don't you? I thought upholding the law was everything to you.
And that will never change.
What does that mean? Now that you know the truth, that I freely procured an abortion, will you jail me for life? Should I hang?
No, of course not.
So then, you'll make an exception for me.
I'll do what I have to do.
But that's just it, William. I don't want to be an exception. I don't want your pity or your mercy.
Do you regret it?
No. Actually, despite the often gruesome subject matter, William and I talk quite openly.
Lucky you. That all changes when you get married and have children.
I suppose. Though I'm not sure children are in my future.
My family life was so erratic. I suppose it made me crave my own close-knit family someday.
You deserve such happiness.
As do you. If that's what you want. Is that what you want?
Yes. Yes, of course.
But I will not rescue you, Julia. Because from everything I know about you, you don't need it.
How was your date?
Fine.
And?
It was fine. And yours?
Also fine.
But I thought you loved your work.
I do. And it goes without saying that I enjoy working with you. But I'm a doctor, not a detective.
You'd make a very good one, however. If you like, I could put a word in with the superintendent.
I was the only woman attending medical school in Montreal. It was very important to me that I succeed.
And you have.
I'm the only one from my class still cutting up cadavers. The Hippocratic Oath was wasted on me.
There are 100 good doctors in this town, but only one that can do what you do.
William.
Julia, you have a gift.
I thank you for that. But this is not just about my work.
See, Doctor, I sense that there is something missing in your life. At first, I thought it was Murdoch. Seemingly bland chap at first blush.
He's far from bland.
I've come to realize that. But there is something missing. I hope you can address it. Good day, Doctor.
Such a progressive hospital would do well to have a female physician as our head of pediatric surgery. Is that something that you would consider?
I must admit I have been contemplating a change.
Yes. A grim business, always dealing in death.
It can be, yes. And the chance to heal children. I'm seriously considering a new job.
A new job?
As head of pediatric surgery at a new children's hospital.
Oh. Well, that's wonderful. I hadn't heard of a new children's hospital being built in Toronto.
Yes. It's in Buffalo.
Buffalo.
William, I regret not informing you earlier, but this is my decision to make.
What will happen to us?
I'm not sure, William. But you know how rarely opportunities come along for a woman in my field. I can't ignore them on the off chance that...
Julia, I thought we had an understanding.
We do. I just don't know of what anymore. There's no one thing. A cumulative effect, perhaps. The realization that I only ever work on dead people. My hands heal no one.
But why not simply apply at a hospital here in Toronto? Why go all the way to Buffalo?
Because no one is offering me anything here.
That could change.
Do you really believe that, William?
Julia, nothing in this world means more to me than you.
William,
And I believed you'd felt the same for me.
but I do.
Then I simply don't understand. There must be something you're not telling me. Why are you leaving? Julia, please. I have to know.
Very well. Ever since the kidnapping of the inspector's son, it's been clear to me how much you want a family. But my abortion...
That means nothing to me. We've put it in the past.
William, it left me sterile. I should have told you before now, but I was frightened of losing you to something I couldn't control, and so I decided to assert control myself.
By leaving?
It's for the best. Isn't it? This way you can meet a woman who can give you the life you deserve. William, please say something.
I don't know what to say.
Yes. Well, that says it all. Doesn't it?
No,
Golden? My golden zoo. It's gibberish. And I do love a puzzle.
Dr. Falwell, I have worked with Dr. Ogden extensively in Toronto and learned to take her speculation as seriously as any fact.
Used to be a pathologist, huh?
Oh, yes, indispensable to my work.
Uh-huh.
I'm engaged to be married.
Oh, I see. Why didn't you tell me?
There was never a good time. There still isn't.
May I ask to whom?
Well, yes. You've met him. It's Dr. Darcy Garland. Darcy, my future is with you in Buffalo.
You don't seem entirely happy there. At least, not as happy as you seem here. And from what I've seen, you belong here.
Are you sure?
Absolutely sure.
In that case, I would love to stay on. I would have to apply for the job, of course. There'd be a process.
I'm certain the inspector would give you a strong recommendation. Inspector Guillaume, Dr. Ogden, our coroner.
Maman? I'm very impressed.
That a woman can be a doctor.
That a doctor can be so beautiful.
May I ask you a personal question, Julia?
Of course.
Well, the way William spoke of you in Bristol, I got the feeling you and him were destined for each other. But now you're engaged to someone else, so I was wondering.
What happened?
I didn't mean to pry. It's just... well, it's important to me that William's happy.
It's good of you to care for him. I still do, very much. But it became obvious that our futures were just not compatible. Some women long for uninhibited romance. I've heard it said.
I sometimes wonder if I will ever find true love. Have you found yours?
Yes, I have.
Indeed, if you had truly loved William, you would have married him.
Ruby, how mean of you. You know I can't give William the life he wants. Children, a family.
I didn't mean to upset you.
I've made my choice. I chose to move on. I chose to make my life without William so that he could have the life that he deserves.
Julia is an extraordinary woman. I would fight for her in the extreme should the need arise.
As you should.
Jules, I love Darcy. I'm happy. I've made my choice.
Doesn't the fact that you're so upset about this tell you that your heart feels differently? Jules, you have to say something. You have to go to him.
I can't. Inspector Charles has forbidden it. Dearest William, I am writing this during what should be the happiest time of my life. And yet my heart has never been more troubled. I have learned of the marriage proposal you intended to make to me. If your feelings are the same, you must let me know before I make my vows. If they are not, then I will marry Darcy and we will never speak of this. Either way, I will know your true feelings, and my heart will be in peace. Love, Julia.
And forsaking all others, be faithful to him as long as you both shall live.
I do.
Julia?
We must accept the decisions we've made, William. It's the only way to move on with our lives.
You are something of an inspiration to us.
Well, thank you. I suppose I see myself as an agent of the law. Detective Murdoch and I have brought many criminals to justice. I found it to be richly satisfying.
You never cease to amaze, Julia.
We've always made a good team.
I beg your pardon?
I'm leaving, William. I've decided to set up my own private practice here in Toronto.
Are you quite sure your value here is in...
We both know why, William. If we'd forgotten, we were reminded of it the last few days. I just can't. I'd hoped to leave before your suspension was up, but I had so much to teach Dr. Grace, and, well, I did want to say goodbye. So, goodbye, William.
Goodbye, Julia. And thank you.
For what?
For being honest. Above all, I have always respected that. Always. These cells are for criminals.
I understand that. What I'm less sure of is why counseling impoverished women is a crime.
You were teaching methods of contraception.
I was simply following my conscience.
You're being stubborn.
I like to think determined.
Dr. Ogden, you are just about the bravest woman I have ever met.
Oh, hardly. I was simply doing my job as a physician.
Julia's a determined woman.
Yes, my wife does know her mind.
Conviction's an admirable quality.
Please trust me.
This is something I care about.
I know that you do.
You must see a lot of terrible cases in your private practice, Mrs. Garland.
It's still Dr. Ogden.
Your wife is a very spirited woman.
Yes, Julia is wonderful and not shy about expressing her opinions.
They're certainly very modern.
You do remember who it is you married, don't you, Darcy? I'm not exactly what you call a shrinking violet.
Of course I do. And I admire your spirit and conviction more than any man alive, but...
You would like your opinionated wife to keep her own counsel. You'll not raise your hand to this woman.
You keep your perverted ideas to yourself.
Someone has to challenge this law.
But why you?
I can't give a useless iron tincture to another woman borne out by continual childbearing.
It's that important to you?
Yes!
More important than a promise to your husband.
I must say, you have been missed. I take it you and Darcy are well.
Yes. We... Do take care of yourself, William.
He's buried her alive.
Julia, God, please. It's all right. You're with me now.
You almost died. Because of me.
You can't blame yourself for the actions of a deranged criminal.
And Darcy, you must find me at fault to some degree.
He is admittedly curious to know why someone would seek their revenge on you by endangering me.
And if I may ask, what did you tell him?
The truth. That somehow Mr. Gillies knew how much we meant to one another. Our history, working together, and our friendship.
And I apologize for putting that at risk. Never again do I want to feel such desperation.
Do you know how I survived? I knew you'd come, William. Even if you had to move heaven and earth to do it. I knew you'd find me. I'm here because I've been studying psychiatry. It's a fascinating field. But what did you imagine?
The world as I would want it to be.
It's a pity it wasn't true. I would love to live in a future imagined by William Murdoch.
It's the eve of a new century.
It is.
I think you should be with whom you wish when it begins.
Darcy and I have parted. And I want you to know that I don't expect anything from you, William, but we could work together. Perhaps we could discover the psychological profile of someone who would be most likely to commit a crime.
You and Darcy have parted.
Yes.
Julia, I have seen the future.
William.
It was you. Happy New Year.
Julia!
William!
My goodness. When did you get back from Vienna?
Last night.
You look wonderful. I'm so happy to see you.
I missed you so much, William.
Oh, as did I. The asylum.
Yes, I start next week.
From coroner to psychiatrist. What other surprises do you have in mind?
Well, I hope to go from married to unmarried. But Darcy says he'll consider a divorce.
Divorce?
Does it really make a difference? We can still be together. We can legally marry.
Not in the eyes of God.
Then damn God, William. You know I've been intimate with men, and now I'm going to be divorced. You know this.
Julia, please.
This is who I am. This is the woman you say you love. William.
Julia. I will stand by you. If you divorce, I will marry you.
And your faith? How will you reconcile that?
I'll accept the consequences of my decision. No matter what the church says, I refuse to believe that love, any love, could be wrong. And I love you.
And I you. I've spoken with Darcy. He's consented to the divorce.
So he's prepared to weather the scandal.
He wants to resolve this as much as we do.
Much time.
If you're staying, I'm staying. We may not be husband and wife, William, but I refuse to abandon you. I wish we lived in a different time. When we could be together and the world wouldn't care.
Julia! My goodness, you look beautiful.
Well, thank you, Detective. I just came by to say goodnight.
Do you miss the morgue, Dr. Ogden?
I can't honestly say that I do. What are you doing?
If I can't have you for my wife, neither can he.
You are so lovely to me, Julia. But we can only truly be together if we're married. I won't compromise you. Probably not the answer you wanted to hear.
But you have principles.
Yes, I do.
And if you went against them, you wouldn't be the man I want to marry.
Really?
Don't be silly. If anything, this makes me love you more.
You are so kind, Doctor. I feel so reassured in your presence.
Be reasonable, man. Considering your actions...
Julia agreed to be my wife till death do us part. I won't taint my standing in the community because she's had a change of heart. Now, if she wants to dally with you, I won't stop her.
Divorce her, if only to preserve her name.
If she's going to act like a whore, she might as well be labeled as such.
Darcy!
We wouldn't have to worry about a divorce if you hadn't married him in the first place!
You could have stopped me.
I couldn't. You know that. I had no choice.
You had a choice. You could have chosen me, and you didn't! William, I'd like to apologize.
That isn't necessary.
This was my choice, not yours. I can't blame you for my decisions.
The handsome detective. He is your secret love. He is the one.
Dr. Ogden is a good woman.
There is one good bit of news for Detective Murdoch.
What's that?
It's easier for him to marry a widow than a divorcee.
Not going anywhere.
Julia, you are being stubborn. Giles has the bit in his mouth, and you could hang for this. Now you have to go.
Murdoch, step aside. Dr. Julia Ogden, I'm arresting you for the murder of Dr. Darcy Garland. Take her away.
And I've known Dr. Ogden since I've been at this station. She's brought more guilty men to justice than most of my constables. Dr. Ogden is a good woman.
On July 3rd, did you not spend the night at the Queen's Hotel with Detective Murdoch?
It wasn't what it seemed.
Just answer the question, please.
Yes.
Are you in love with Detective Murdoch?
Yes.
In fact, you were hoping to marry him, weren't you?
Yes.
That's why you were seeking the divorce, was it not?
Yes, William. Whatever happens, I love you. You know that, don't you?
Yes, yes. Julia.
Dr. Ogden, despite your stellar reputation and diligent work for the Toronto Coroner's Office, the nature of this crime is such that I have no recourse but to sentence you to be hanged by the neck until you are dead. May God have mercy on your soul. Do you have anything you wish to say?
If William Murdoch should ask what my final words were, tell him he never failed me and that I still love him.
No, stop! What? No, we have the killer. This is his confession. She's innocent.
Take the noose off her neck. You'd better not be stalling for time, Detective Murdoch.
I'm not, Your Honor. I swear to you, I'm not.
I just want this chapter of our lives to be over. I want us to start afresh.
As do I. Good work, Doctor.
Please, I haven't lost my touch. Are you all right? I heard there was an explosion.
I'm fine, but the ship is sinking.
Sinking? Have you found Amy?
You need to get off the ship. Get to a lifeboat now.
Well, not without you.
Julia.
I said not without you.
Fine. Come on. It would appear I have to thank you, your penchant, for not listening to me as, once again...
I'm just so glad you're safe, William.
You saved my life, Julia.
Tit for tat, I suppose.
Detective William Murdoch.
Of course. Detective William Murdoch, Constable George Crabtree. This is Leslie Garland, Darcy's brother. He's a little bit young for me, don't you think?
I don't believe your beauty could be lost on anyone of any age, Julia.
Fine answer, William.
But he's definitely too young for you.
I need to know who I'm playing, a modern woman or a church mouse.
Well, if you're playing a modern woman, perhaps you shouldn't be trying to define her through her relationship with a man.
That, my dear, is a woman of action.
When you met, was it love at first sight?
Not expressed as such.
But surely...
Yes, there was an attraction. But the detective lived and breathed his work, as did I.
That's what did it, working together.
I suppose.
The romance blossomed.
Yes. It was so lovely. So fresh. Undiscovered.
You're fortunate to have such an able right-hand detective. I should consider acquiring a female assistant.
This is Dr. Julia Ogden.
William, it's much more fun to believe in the possibility than to be discouraged by the improbability.
Julia, there are people everywhere.
How ridiculous it is that women should have to wear black woolen stockings in this heat.
You are being very scandalous, young lady.
Yes, I am. Aren't I?
Are you all right, Doctor?
I've seen plenty of dead bodies in my time. What's another one?
A matter of significance if it's the right person.
Everyone's the right person to someone.
And what am I?
A monster.
A monster?
You confessed to killing 6 people.
One of which was your late husband. You still haven't thanked me for that.
He was an innocent man.
Who was getting in the way of you and the good detective's happiness. I helped you. Now there's nothing between you and the man of your dreams. Aren't you happy now? Or do you feel guilty?
Why should I feel guilty? You killed him.
Yes. But you caused that. He'd still be alive if he hadn't met you.
Women in love can be quite tenacious.
Yes, they can.
You seemed quite charmed by Miss Gordon.
I admired her passion. And I suppose I saw a kindred spirit. It's hardly the same thing, but I hadn't anyone on my side when I started out to become a doctor. The murder was 8 years ago, correct?
Yes.
The year I became a coroner, and the year I met you.
Julia, you are brilliant.
William, I have to say, I'm never happier than when I'm working side by side with you.
As am I, Julia.
Life without you, William, it was worse than death.
Listen to me. Together, we are stronger than anyone.
Goodbye, Mr. Garland.
On your way before I change my mind.
Are you all right?
I've never been better. We're free, William. We're finally free.
Yes, we are.
Ask me again, William.
Julia Ogden, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?
William Murdoch, will you do me the honor of becoming my husband?
I will.
And I will. Very much I will.
I'm only suggesting that a public protest could result in you being jailed.
You're not trying to stop me, are you?
I doubt very much there'd be any point to that.
Just keep on walking, ladies.
Dr. Ogden, is there anything else I can get for you in the meantime?
Pillow?
Now, Doctor, you're being highly unreasonable.
So what do? We fight on. The 4 of us. We have to. Women have no power in this world. I've seen it all too clearly, and I don't care to see it anymore. We're women of intelligence and privilege. It's our duty. The 4 will become more.
I agree with you. This is a fight that we can win. Margaret? Yes.
To the Furious 4.
The Furious 4.
I like it.
William's at peace in a way that I have never known him to be.
As am I. We're very happy.
I'm pleased for this opportunity to meet you. What brings you to my church?
I know that it would mean a great deal to William for us to marry in the church, but I'm not a Catholic. I'm here to ask if there's any way that I might grant him that gift.
William painted the picture to me of a resilient, determined woman.
He's permitted our wedding to take place in the church.
Julia, I know your convictions. You don't have to do that for me.
And now I better understand your convictions. Your faith is important to you, William. And if we're to marry, I want to marry all of you.
William Murdoch, do you take this woman to be your wife? Do you promise to be true to her in good times and bad, in sickness and in health? Do you promise to love her and honor her all the days of your life?
I do.
And do you, Julia, take this man to be your husband? Do you promise to love?
I truly do.
Then by the authority of the Church, I ratify and bless this bond of marriage in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. The ring.
Oh, George. Well, that's quite clever. Never looked lovelier.
I think this has been the perfect wedding day.
With one exception. I have yet to kiss the bride. A honeymoon demands luxury, Mrs. Murdoch. Hello? Reservation for Murdoch, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Murdoch.
Actually, I'm Mr. Murdoch and
Yes,
Mrs.
Mr. and Mrs. Murdoch. I'm proud to be called Mrs. Murdoch. We graciously accept. Thank you, Mr. President.
A woman of beauty and sense. You're a lucky man, Detective.
You know, Julia, married life suits you.
Really? Am I that different?
There's a lightness in you I haven't seen before. You seem happier.
I must say, the romance of the honeymoon continues.
Romance? The detective?
Yes. We're quite enjoying ourselves.
Oh, my.
Have you ever played basketball?
As a matter of fact, I have. Why do you ask?
You're very good, Miss Ogden.
I tell you, when you grow up playing with country club boys, you learn a thing or two.
Lucky for us, you dropped in.
I didn't know you were a member here.
My family is.
You must find it quite stimulating.
Actually, I found it tiresome.
Jules! Give your sister a lift?
Detective William Murdoch, meet Miss Ruby Ogden, my sister.
Younger sister.
It's a pleasure.
I thought it fun to surprise Jules with my little stage appearance.
Really, Ruby, can we please put this Jules business to rest? I'm not a tomboy. Have you paid Mother a visit?
Jules, you know how I feel about cemeteries. Did visit Daddy, though. He says he hasn't seen you in months.
Well, I've been busy.
He'd like us to join him this weekend at the rowing club for lunch.
I guess he will not take no thank you for an answer.
Might be good for you to get out of this morgue for once. Don't you ever leave it?
Of course I do. I do have other interests, you know.
Such as?
I read, cycle, I play tennis, attend the theater regularly.
Dr. Julia Ogden, is it not?
Why, yes, Mrs. Pendrick.
Your father talks incessantly about your accomplishments.
Well, not me. Is there something else, Mr. Wells?
Yes. I find you most intriguing, Julia. Your accomplishments astounding.
I see. Well, the most interesting Ogden is my sister.
Clearly, all of the Ogden women are of fine stock.
How well did you know the Jenkins?
My mother and Mrs. Jenkins were bridge partners. I'd sometimes be left over there to play.
Has Father taken to him?
I'm sure he's just relieved to finally see me married off. To whom is just a detail.
Before you say no to me rushing to your rescue, Father's paying for it, so it's done.
I'm touched, but I still have to say no.
Thank you, Julia. She wouldn't come without you.
I know what it is for a girl to lose her mother. I'm off to visit my father. He called me out of the blue.
Oh, How long has it been?
Years, but he wants to see me.
Miss Ogden.
Lovely to see you, Mrs. Hastings. I'm sorry I couldn't come sooner. I've been quite preoccupied with work.
Miss Ogden.
Do you know why Father called for me?
I'm sorry, but you're too late.
Too late for what?
Dr. Ogden has passed.
Father is dead?
You always did take things too far, even as a child.
I'm not a child anymore.
But still defiant.
Perhaps you're feeling guilty because you didn't come when he...
Why should I feel guilty? Because my father was cold? Because he preferred Ruby? Because he never approved of my decision to become a doctor? I didn't come to see him sooner because I didn't want to see him. I needn't feel guilty about that.
He waited for you. He so wanted to see you.
Do you know what he wanted to ask me?
I think he wanted you to be the one.
The one?
The one that helped him die.
Well, if you had come, if we had talked, you would know. You can put reason above emotion.
How would you know that?
Because I've watched you and everything that you've achieved, albeit from that distance that you and I both seem to need. But I have watched you, and what an extraordinary woman you have become.
All the more reason why...
Let me finish. I knew I could trust you. I knew I could put my life, my final moments, in your careful hands. That you would not fail me. Darling, do not be sad. You are, you always have been, my lovely daughter.
Daddy.
My lovely Julia.